Have you ever imagined that a simple girl who lived in a small village in France 150 years ago could predict the challenges and crises we are facing today? The prophecy of Bernadette Soubirous, a humble shepherd girl of Lourdes, is becoming more and more relevant in the reality of 2025. Natural disaster, social conflict, and spiritual call. Bernadette is appearing in parallel with the fantasy she received from the Virgin Mary. It is amazing that she prophesied about the future, and from now on, we will find out how that revelation is connected to the global challenge we are facing today. Bernadette Soubirous was born in a small village in the south of France in 1844 in Lourdes, and became world famous for her fantasy of seeing a beautiful woman who revealed herself to be the Virgin Mary. This fantasy happened in 1858 when she was only 14 years old, and completely changed her life and the fate of the village where she was born. The incident, which began with a simple revelation, became one of the biggest religious rituals in the world, and the message she received continues to resonate to this day. France in the 19th century was undergoing major political and social changes. The French society, which has not yet escaped the aftermath of the French Revolution and the Napoleonic War, was in a state of tension between the Catholic Church and the increasingly secularized nation. The Catholic Church, which was once dominant, faced a challenge due to the injury of new ideologies and the loss of political influence. Traditional religious practices were questioned by the modernization and the rise of the Catholic Church, and the atmosphere of change and uncertainty was stirring. However, Lourdes seemed to be living at the edge of these changes. This village was small, rural, and deeply Catholic, and the residents relied on agriculture and were living in extreme poverty. The rural life was difficult, and there were few opportunities for education, and the society was characterized by a strong class structure. For example, Bernadette's family had to live in a small room that was once a prison because they were too poor. Despite this, the Catholic faith remained at the center of the lives of the residents of Lourdes in difficult circumstances, and it provided hope in these difficult times. Bernadette Soubirous grew up in such a poor environment. Her weak health and lack of education made her childhood even more difficult. However, Bernadette showed deep religious faith from an early age, and this played a decisive role when she experienced a fantasy that would change her life at the age of 14. The little village of Lourdes, which was almost unknown, became the center of religious phenomena that would affect the world. Through these fantasies, the small village of Itchen gained international fame and became a holy place for millions of believers. France, which was already characterized by a great tension between secular values and religious beliefs, witnessed an increase in skepticism about miracles and manifestations. In urban areas, modernization and scientific thinking began to replace popular religiousness, and there was a gap between rural spiritual experience and the city's rational point of view. However, despite the geographical and social isolation, Bernadette delivered a mysterious experience that connects these two areas and attracted many believers and curious skeptics to Lourdes. On February 11, 1858, the incident changed the life of Bernadette Soubirous and the fate of Lourdes forever. On that day, she saw a shining figure near a cave by the river while she was collecting firewood with her brother and friend. The object of the fantasy was a beautiful woman, wearing a white dress and a blue belt around her waist and holding a golden rosary. The atmosphere surrounding the incident was filled with supernatural light, and Bernadette was captivated by a deep sense of peace. This beautiful woman's fantasy was only the first of 18 manifestations that Bernadette would experience over the next few months. Whenever there was a new encounter, the woman delivered a deep spiritual message and asked for prayer and repentance for the sins of mankind. She also instructed Bernadette to dig a cave, where a miracle sprang up and brought physical and spiritual healing to people with faith. These moments of change left a deep mark on Bernadette. She had no formal education or theological knowledge, but she was able to deliver the message clearly and simply. Her humility and sincerity immediately attracted people around her. Although the fantasy caused controversy and distrust, the local authorities began to closely monitor these incidents. As more and more curious visitors and faithful believers came, Bernadette began to accompany her whenever she visited the cave. In one of the most important fantasies, the woman introduced herself like this: "I am Muyam Sidi." Bernadette, a young Mokdong, did not understand this at all. It was because she did not know the theological doctrine of Muyam Sidi, which was introduced in 1854. However, For religious leaders who investigated the fantasy, this revelation became an important clue in recognizing the sincerity of the manifestation. This is because Bernadette contained knowledge that she could not know. Every time there was a new revelation, the number of people who followed Bernadette to the cave grew. Although many people did not see or hear it in person, they said they felt a spiritual presence there, which strengthened their faith. These fantasies had a great impact on the village of Lourdes and its residents. The cave, which was once out of sight, gradually became the center of prayer and faith, and people not only came to find miracles, but also visited this place to find faith again in the changing world. As Bernadette's revelation became widely known, the skepticism surrounding it grew. The local and religious authorities doubted her claims and feared that the fantasy was a hallucination or a fraud. The local police interrogated her several times and tried to pressure her to confess that she made up the story. The Catholic Church always kept a careful attitude to verify supernatural phenomena and kept a distance until more evidence was collected. In the beginning, religious leaders supported Bernadette, but later, when her claims were confirmed, they feared that their credibility would be diminished. The revelation was not a new phenomenon in the history of the Church, and there were many cases of revelations over the centuries. However, Bernadette's story began to interest the church authorities and the public with her sincerity, humility, and consistent assertion. The tension gradually eased, but it still took time for the official recognition. Despite the skepticism surrounding Bernadette's fantasy, the number of people who followed Bernadette to the cave continued to increase. Many people began to believe that Bernadette was chosen to convey the message of God in the uncertain times. This firm belief in Bernadette's testimony slowly began to change the public's opinion. As time went by, the church had no choice but to reconsider its position, especially after the first miracles began to occur. At that time, there was also a skeptical view from scientists and intellectuals who were gaining influence in France. The realist movement that emphasized science and reason was gaining momentum, and many followers were ridiculing the fantasies as a popular superstition. Nevertheless, the miracles that occurred in Lourdes were scientifically inexplicable. The healing cases were thoroughly investigated in documents, and this caused a lot of controversy among the clergy, doctors, and scientists. Lourdes became a place where faith and reason collided, and the discussion became more and more active. Bernadette's pressure and her unchanging opinion were one of the factors that had the greatest impact on public opinion. She never sought attention or personal recognition, and her resistance to the attack of the party seemed to further strengthen her honesty. In 1862, after years of thorough investigation, the Catholic Church finally recognized Bernadette's fantasy and established Lourdes as one of the most important places of worship in the Catholic world. This recognition meant a great victory for all those who believed in Bernadette and her fantasy from the beginning. One of the most important moments of Bernadette's fantasy was when Saint Maria asked her to dig the ground of the Massabile cave. Bernadette began to dig the ground with her hands, and a small spring came out of it. It seemed like a simple act, but it soon became one of the greatest miracles related to her fantasy. The water from this spring was later known as the Lourdes Spring, and she quickly gained fame through her healing abilities. The first officially recorded miracle occurred in 1858 when Catherine Latopi visited St. Lourdes. Catherine, who had dipped her paralyzed hand in water, immediately regained the movement of her hand. This incident became the prelude to a series of miracles that required physical and mental healing. Healing in Lourdes was not limited to serious physical diseases such as cancer or paralysis. Healing was also given to pilgrims who suffered emotional and spiritual pain. To this day, the Catholic Church has officially recognized 70 miracles in Lourdes, and this is the result of thorough investigation. However, hundreds of other healing incidents are reported every year, and many of them are not officially recognized. The number of miracles officially recognized by pilgrims is not important. What is important is that Lourdes is a holy place that touches the world, and that you can find healing and hope there. Lourdes has become a must-visit destination for millions of pilgrims, and this small village has become one of the largest Catholic shrines in the world. Every year, about 6 million people visit this place to seek physical healing and spiritual renewal. The time of religious rites, candlelight marches, and joint prayer is part of the transformative experience that pilgrims experience in Lourdes. The miracles healed in Lourdes are not only for those who have faith, but also for the skeptics who are moved by something that does not follow a logical explanation, and it has continued to be a source of hope. Many critics claim that healing stories are mainly psychological, but science has not provided a satisfactory explanation for all cases. The tension between the inexplicable and the mystical has made the faith that Lourdes water is a gift from God given to mankind even stronger. The Catholic Church continues to conduct research on miraculous healing cases while maintaining caution. The process for healing to be recognized as a miracle includes thorough investigation by independent doctors and experts. Nevertheless, for many pilgrims, the true miracle of Lourdes is not only physical healing, but also the spiritual change and renewed faith that they experience while visiting the holy place. In addition to the miracles related to the fantasy of Saint Mary and Lourdes, Bernadette is said to have left a prophecy about the future of mankind. In particular, the prophecy centered on 2025 draws attention. Bernadette shared her fantasies with several nuns beyond her experience in Lourdes over the last few years of her life in the Holy See. She mentioned the time of great trials when natural, social, and spiritual crises would shake the foundations of society. One of Bernadette's most mysterious prophecies is about the Chosen One. She predicted that in the crisis of 2025, a person with great wisdom and spirituality will appear and restore faith in a world that has overcome and divided mankind. According to her fantasy, this person will appear in an unexpected place and will open a new era of spiritual renewal. As 2025 approaches, expectations for this person are growing. Who will be the chosen one? Will it be a religious leader who can lead lost souls back to faith? Or will it be a politician with a unified message that transcends social and political divisions? No matter who it is, Bernadette's words are still echoing. There will always be light in the era of darkness. This chosen one will be a beacon of hope at an important time for mankind. The chosen one has been widely discussed for years, and many theologians and scholars have tried to interpret this prophecy. Some people believe that the chosen one will be a global spiritual leader who will unite the people in times of crisis. Others see this person as a symbol of collective hope and believe that the chosen one can be anyone who can have a positive impact on mankind. As the environmental and social crisis intensifies, the prophecy of Bernadette's era of great tribulation seems to be in line with the reality we live in. More and more frequent natural disasters, political polarization, and increasing despair have made many people seek guidance in Bernadette's words. Expectations are growing that something special will happen in 2025. It may be the appearance of the chosen one, or the collective awakening of mankind to a new era of faith and unity. Bernadette has not specifically mentioned who the chosen one will be or where they will come from, but the message of hope in her spiritual renewal and adversity is very strongly resonating today. As 2025 approaches, this prophecy will serve as a beacon of light to those who believe that mankind can still be trapped and find their way despite all challenges. The person of the chosen one represents the possibility of a new beginning in the world of crisis, whether it is literally or symbolically. The influence of Bernadette Soubirous goes beyond her fantasies and miracles. Her humility, unwavering faith, and obedience to the Holy Spirit inspire millions of people around the world. Despite having gained fame thanks to her fantasies, Bernadette chose a simple life. She never sought recognition and preferred to serve the quiet, poor, and sick in the capital. Her life often proved that the greatest spiritual achievement comes from unexpected places and ordinary people. Today, Lourdes is one of the most important pilgrimages in the world, and it attracts millions of people to seek healing and spiritual renewal. The spring of water discovered by Bernadette is still flowing, and the miracles that take place there constantly remind us of the holy existence on earth. Visiting Lourdes is more than a simple act of dedication to the pilgrims, and it is an opportunity to reintegrate their faith and find a deeper purpose in life. As 2025 approaches, Bernadette's prophecy will have a greater meaning. We live in an age of natural disasters, social division, and the reflection of the spiritual crisis she prophesied a century ago. However, her last message was always a message of hope. She believed that although humanity will face great trials, these challenges will also be opportunities for a new spiritual awakening. Bernadette Soubirous' legacy is still alive, and even in uncertain times, It inspires millions of people to keep their faith. In 1933, she was recognized as an adult, and it definitely had a lasting impact on her life and fantasy. Her declaration of adulthood was an official recognition of her holiness, but Bernadette was already considered a holy person by those who followed her. Her story has spread all over the world, and it has inspired many communities to follow her dedication and simplicity. Lourdes remains a symbol of faith and hope for all visitors. It is not only a place of healing, but it has become a place of spiritual meeting where people with all faiths gather to find something greater than themselves. The water of Lourdes is not only a symbol of physical healing, but it is also a symbol of emotional and spiritual healing, and many pilgrims come back with stories of personal changes. True healing is a reconnection with their faith, and it goes beyond the physical dimension and reaches deep into the soul. Bernadette Soubirous still has a great spiritual influence in the hearts of millions of people. Her message, prophecy, and humility are alive in the hearts of millions of people. When the world is faced with an unprecedented challenge, Bernadette's legacy shows the way of hope, and it reminds everyone that faith and mercy can show the way of salvation even in the most difficult times.